Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. Something a little bit different as it appears. I haven't actually opened these up. A little bit different. If it's one thing that I am severely lacking on this channel, it is budget fixed blade knife content. And there's a reason for that. Typically, I find those types of knives to be extremely boring. There are certain combinations of brands and types of knives that I, might show. And a lot of this stuff, truthfully, I turn down or don't showcase. But I do like CJRB. So when when these knives showed up, I thought, you know what? I bet these are ridiculously inexpensive and they're probably made super well. So we're going to open them up and take a look. I'll link them down in the description so that you guys can check them out. I am very certain that they are going to be pretty inexpensive, but we'll probably have really good build quality and, good ergonomics and blade geometry, stuff like that. Thanks to CJRB, Artisan Cutlery, for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. The nice thing about fixed blades is typically, as far as like my style, these are sand polished. This is called the Mutt. As far as my style of review goes, there's not really a whole lot to say in a review that cannot be said in an unboxing. It's very different with a folding knife, right? So as a design reviewer, it's very different with a folding knife. Let's talk about all the different elements since the knife, has moving parts. So what we have here is much more my size of fixed blade. I wasn't sure with the box being as big as it was. Much more my size. This is much closer to the size of fixed blade that I would carry. That's a good looking little fixed blade. Yeah. So this is sand polish. As we know, there's a big variation in terms of their sand polishing. It can be anywhere from a typical satin finish to it's super reflective, right? Large variation there. Just barely a full finger grip for me. I wear an XL glove. If your hands are larger than mine, probably 3-finger. If your hands are smaller than mine, might be a little bit of a better grip. But it's nice and comfortable. So this is a fixed AR RPM 9 knife. Considering their injection mold, like here's an AR RPM 9 knife from CJRB, right? Got a couple more in there. We've got like this guy here, and that's a Migron. Here's like a G10 Pyrite, like the large one. We're looking at knives that cost between $30 and $50. Despite what a lot of people think, the equivalent when we're talking about the same company, and we're looking at basic materials, in this case AR RPM 9 and micarta. Obviously there we had examples of injection mold plastic and G10. This is essentially the equivalent in fixed blade to their budget tier folding knives. Your folding knives are going to have more of a process involved, so we should be able to logically conclude that their fixed blades should cost less than their folding knives. This knife should be, in my opinion, under $40. That's my opinion. I really hope that it's there. You can have whatever opinion you want. But it is nice. An AR RPM 9 will perform similarly to 9CR 18 MOV. It's a spray form 9CR 18 MOV, which I think is going to be pretty close to, if my memory serves me right, I think that's somewhere around 440B, 440C territory. So fine, good enough, right, for a knife that's meant to be used outside, and definitely much harder than a folding knife. Basically, give me some toughness, give me some stainless qualities, right, at this price point, and then outside of that, if it needs to be resharpened, I'll resharpen it. There's a much broader range. As somebody who does not typically use a fixed blade in very specific settings, there's a much broader range. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. Much broader range of acceptable steels in the budget fixed blade world, in my opinion. Nice little build, though, honestly. Let's take a look here at the next one. So this is also the Mutt, and we have wood. We do have wood. I have every now and then I have people requesting, that I do giveaways with more, and these will all be giveaway knives, more knives that utilize wood. This is actually pretty good looking on the front here with the two pins, like that, where they look like pins, but they're just like Chicago ends. For the adjustment heads on the other side. So of course, full tang, you're probably looking at something like 130,000, like 125 to 135, right? We have a nice little harpoon notch there, little flat that extends maybe 65% the length of the blade, swedge out there to the tip, intentionally dropping off right before you get to the tip, so that is absolutely done on purpose. At least the finishes between those two are perfectly consistent. I do like that. I'm going to guess this last one is either all black or black G10 with a satin, like the sand polished blade. Let's take a look here. These are, a lot of times, these are the types of knives that I like to give to my local buddies who I know for sure will abuse their knives. Like if I know for sure that my local buddies who don't really know, I don't come down on them for not being like a big knife snob. No, like that's ridiculous, right? But if they're like, I need a knife that I can really throw around, I'm like, well, you need a fixed blade with a nice, soft, tough, inexpensive steel, right? I say soft, like this is obviously, I think they heat treated air RPM 950, 961. That's technically not soft, right? A lot of times for a guy like that, you just need a mega pounder. You need like a 1095 blade with a 57 HRC, like hardness. It needs to be super thick. Like that's the type of mega pounder that you hand to somebody who's just going to use it for anything, right? And even then, it's still going to end up dull. But if I'm going to hand a knife off to somebody, I don't want to do a lot of over-explaining, and they're like, I'm just looking for something durable that I can kind of throw around. Well, yeah, a small, nice, thick, like the geometry out towards the tip is a little thicker. A small, inexpensive fixed blade, typically. I don't like the idea of handing, people ask me all the time, like, what's the toughest, cheapest, folding knife? And I'm like, well, you probably want something from Cold Steel that's just basic. You're obviously asking if what type of knife is going to survive you throwing it at a tree or prying with it. Yeah, you just need like the biggest, dummy, goofy, super lock. I like the triad lock, but that's what you need. Or you need a fixed blade that just bypasses the entire pivot thing all the way around. Obviously, the weakest part of a folding knife is going to be the pivot, and all you can do is reinforce that with stronger and stronger and stronger locking systems like your Demco Shark Lock, your Demco Triad Lock, or your Demco Scorpion Lock, right? Or your double pins, or some of them have triple pins, right? But yeah, like a nice little EDC fixed blade. This is a pretty good size. Handle length is pretty comparable to like the Essie Azula 2. We just have a much bigger blade. Sheath, it's fine, right? You have the two little clasps right here. And for me, I would just shove the entire thing into my pocket. As much as fixed blade guys really cringe when I talk about my preferences, which are very much not shared by a lot of the fixed blade community, because I, don't take these things out and use them. I'm sure if I did use them a lot more often, or found myself in settings where I needed to use a fixed blade much more often, then my preferences, as you could logically conclude, would be far more complex, which is ironically the part of the name of this channel. that this channel is producing content covering a product that I don't find to be particularly complex. There's a little bit of irony in there. So there's all the puzzle pieces. I'll let you guys make something of that. To quote Peter Griffin, these are interesting. They don't require, as far as like my style of review, they don't require anything else from me, but they do exist. And if you think they're interesting, and especially if they are 40 or less, then I think they might be worth your time, just based on my knowledge of CJRB and the products that they produce. They tend to be pretty good. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.